Now, I'd like to introduce our next speaker onto the stage. Metakovan, could you please perhaps share your audio and video, and we can get the session started? Right. Thank you so much. You could perhaps try sharing your slides, and we'll give the green light when it's all ready to go.
Cool.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, today we have Metakovan as a special guest today. The title of the session, Metakovan and Global Disruption. Now, Metakovan shook the world a few weeks ago when the purchase of the Beeple 5000 RPs went around, when the news of that went around the globe. And just a few days ago is when Metakovan revealed the identity of who they were. And so while today it may be Vignesh beneath the Metakovan exosuit, it may be someone else another day. But that is besides the point. The point is what Metakovan represents, their character, the rationale behind appearing behind an avatar. And so today Metakovan is going to take us through their journey, their vision for the future, and what is next. Without further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to Metakovan. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And this is such a nice feeling to be speaking to an eclectic crowd. Usually, it's a very different crowd I speak to, very blockchain obsessed, and a specific niche is where we always hang out. So this is such a fresh feeling for me. So thank you for thank you for the opportunity to be here today. So thanks a lot for that. I'll just give a small bit of background of how I got started in the industry, and I want to jump into what's happening today. So I feel like it's more relevant, and then open it up for some questions also if you guys have any. Let's see how much time we have, right? So my crypto journey started in 2013. I discovered Bitcoin when Bitcoin was quite it was not yet mainstream, and the alternate currencies didn't have smart contracts. They were just like clones of Bitcoin mostly. So that's when I really got introduced to Bitcoin, and most of the discussions back then was around the mining algorithms and that kind of like monetary policy discussions, etc. So what crypto has allowed me over years now is to this basic understanding. Traveling with crypto actually is very interesting, because in the last 10 years, if you go back and try to understand crypto, and maybe into the future also, it's such a time capsule of everything that happened in the history of the world, right? So it's a fast track lesson of economics. It's a fast track lesson of politics. It's a fast track lesson of how like mathematics and economics together in a very interesting way come together, and is creating a political revolution nonetheless, right? So it's a very important topic to think about, and even into the future, what it's going to do to the world, right? So when I started in crypto, I was just in the forums hanging out and doing some basic services. Like I used to be escrow agents for people who wanted to exchange various cryptocurrencies, and that's how I started. Then I moved to Canada, where I met a bunch of co-founders, and we started a Bitcoin ATM company, because back then it was so hard to buy a Bitcoin. You had to wire your money to another country, and it used to take 5 days. So we thought putting Bitcoin ATMs would be a very nice way to have more people have Bitcoin, and that idea was interesting, but it got into its own rabbit hole with regulations, and handling cash is not that trivial. So that whole lesson and journey has had its own education for me. I was not too interested in it because initially it was more of a frontier thing for me, but then within say within a year or two, it became more about the compliance, more about the but about the regulations. And most of my time, I was the coder, so most of the time was going towards complying with state regulations, the state regulations of various states in the US, various states in Canada. So I was thinking, like, I did not really sign up for that. So I wanted to move on and do something that was more boundary pushing. So that is when Ethereum also was just going to get launched. This was 2016, and I started thinking about how smart contracts could disintermediate the whole financial space. So I started by writing something called the Velocity white paper, which talks about how derivatives can work on Ethereum and stuff. So that was the starting point of that journey. But then I really wanted to explore lending and how the word DeFi was yet not invented when I thought about the idea for Lendroid, which was my next venture, right? Like out when I came out of BitAccess, I wanted to go into this world and be a decentralized protocol, because I had this fatigue of compliance, the fatigue of regulations. I wanted to build something truly decentralized. And when I got into that, 2017-18, again there were a lot of other issues which I didn't have the foresight for. Like we got into a situation where it was the year when ICOs were not famous, and then by the end of the year, no one wanted to even talk about an ICO, right? So it went from like no one caring about it to everyone in the world talking about it, and no one wanting to talk about it, and then people talking bad about it. So it all happened in a year, and that is when I did Lendroid. So that was a very painful journey in its own way, but what it did to me was it gave me that experience of say moving into a new jurisdiction like Singapore and exploring how regulatory arbitrage works, and between Canada and Singapore was awesome, but it took 2 years for me to even understand and settle down into say accounting, all the paperwork that's required to run a company like the Lendroid Foundation. So that took a while, and in the meantime, we were building the team. So Lendroid Foundation on its own right now works on various DeFi protocols, and that's exactly when the NFT trend started to pick up too. So this whole journey, the most important thing is I never actually got stuck into one area, because I knew that there is something going on which is really fast here. So you know how like maybe 30 years ago or 50 years ago, a person's career. So if you start something, you'd probably end until you retire, you'll keep doing the same thing. But now we are in that phase where each person has maybe 3-4 careers, and crypto is just faster, right? So we are going to have so many careers in crypto because the change is so fast, and living inside it is very different from how you'd observe it from outside. So it's in people say in crypto years it's like dog years, because every year is like 7, and you feel that in your nerve, and that's what is happening even now with the NFT boom. So I like with all this happening, one good thing that was happening all along was that I understood the phenomenon of the fact that it was now possible for fundraising by other people, instead of going to the VCs, they were coming to the crowd. So I always never missed all those opportunities where I could participate in interesting fundraisers. Now I would caveat this with the with an important disclaimer, because it's not very easy to participate in a crowd sale, because you have to really be deep inside the industry to understand why a protocol will be successful or not. And it's not just the idea, it's the execution, it's the human beings behind it. It's a lot of factors. So one thing that I got better at and good at over time was judging those protocols which might be successful, right? So my initial bet from Bitcoin, I never stayed on Bitcoin. I moved to Ethereum. And then from Ethereum, I had moved to protocols like Polkadot. I'd even chosen Tezos as a bet for my investments. So I would never keep my investments in one cryptocurrencies. I will always move them as a bet into the new cryptocurrencies, new generation of cryptocurrencies, because this is also a free market for ideas, and where real true capitalism at the it's almost capitalism on steroids, because anyone can do anything here, right? And the best idea and the best person to execute it definitely can win. So you have to always be on the lookout for something that's interesting. And so I used to do that a lot, and that's how I identified few of these patterns. And when NFTs came out, with the introduction of Decentraland, that's when something very different clicked on me. Where until now I was thinking maybe about money and crypto as a opportunity for being able to participate in wealth transfer, unlike being banned from participating in the seed round of a startup which has potential to win. Because if you think about Ethereum, it's not very different from Uber, right? Like in terms of valuation, and like it's not like everyone gets to participate in Uber's wealth, the growth of its valuation. It's a particular set of people, but Ethereum, it was just open to a lot more people, right? So sometimes people think it's weird that some people made a lot of money, but it happens all the time, and that's something we all should remember. But it was only open to a privileged set of people before, and with crypto it got opened up to a lot more people, and you could take a risk there. So it's in a way it's a liberal thought, and it's a good opportunity. Obviously you have to make sure you're very careful about all these things, but you should know that these opportunities now exist, right? And so with Ethereum, what opened up as an opportunity then carried on to many other things, and that's how in one sense I compounded my investments. And I also made sure that I move jurisdictions at the right time, so that I was also very tax aware personally, and with my company also. So I made sure that I moved to Singapore, and that's been my journey in terms of investment. Just a second. So crypto, with all these liberal ideas and the political thought that it instilled in me, also had this effect on me, where it took me all over the world, because we used to have conferences. We still do, like maybe during the COVID, no, but it's a pattern where every year there are 2-3 conferences in different parts of the world, and we used to meet people, and that conversations we could have with the international community, and people from very different backgrounds, that affects you a lot. Hanging out in Berlin with some people from Germany, from people from Italy, in Switzerland from some people from Zurich, hanging out in Cancun. All these things make you feel very differently about the world, compared to being in a startup, in an isolated startup. So that's the other important point, what crypto brings into your life. And with all of these knowledge, what it does is it kind of makes you understand what is happening to the underlying world we live in, where there is the financial where there is the financial centralization that happened over years now, and how that has affected us negatively, right? So again, coming to NFTs, all this crypto stuff only taught me how to make money, right? How to make money, and maybe how to fundraise, and also how to bootstrap my own ideas in this industry, build a community. But NFTs are very interesting because they are visual. Smart contracts are awesome, but they're still boring, and most of the people cannot access it. But NFTs, it gives a space for you to play, right? It allows artists to enter the industry. Um, it allows three dimensions where you can play. So the virtual worlds built on top of Ethereum are uncensorable and unconfiscatable. So no one can take this land away from you. So what will you build in it, right? And this is going to be there forever. So the first thesis I had about these lands that were being created in the decentralized space was that they are like the new Netflix banners. So Netflix, we open it up, even though there are millions of websites in the world, we open up Netflix every day and maybe click on the banner that Netflix shows us, and then we all watch it. That's attention. That's the attention economy. Now, when when you think about the virtual worlds, yes, there can be infinite land, but there's going to be some land that's going to be important, and maybe we can make that happen, right? By building a Burj Khalifa, the world's attention is 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 accumulated in one spot in this world. By building a Marina Bay Sands, the world's attention is accumulated in one spot. And that same concept can be applied to the virtual worlds, where we can build very interesting monuments in the virtual world, which is unconfiscatable, uncensorable, and and immutable. Mutable in the sense that you can change it, but no one else but the owner of the land can, right? So once we build the monuments and let it exist, the attention towards this monument is going to create this effect of more traffic to these areas. And that is where I believe the future is, because we are able to attract this traffic and be able to have a conversation with these people directly. So it that is where art comes in, where art is an it art is cultural engineering, right? So traditionally, 100 years ago, probably 200 years ago, art was confined to a specific set of people, and art was bought and sold by a specific set of people. Art was commissioned by a specific set of people, all the elites, and that kind of what has drived our narratives as human beings across the world. Now the tech industry, when I say tech, I don't talk about crypto, because I feel like tech and crypto are very different fields. Even though crypto like feels like tech, crypto is decentralized money, which means it decentralizes capital. So tech is centralizing everything, right? Like tech is very similar to the governments, where it centralizes data and it centralizes assets also. Like few people get really rich, and they don't spend anything on art because they don't care, and they don't have to, right? But once we open up the decentralized capital to the whole world, what's going to happen is there's going to be a Metakovan, and Metakovan is going to buy a piece of art, and that art is going to get the global attention, and that attention is going to turn you towards the metaverse. And that is where we are going to have this conversation, right? And that's very powerful, because we are able to talk, we are able to globally communicate with everyone now. Think about it. It's a very powerful move. In the same way, it's not just Metakovan who's talking to this world now, but there can be hundreds of Metakovans. It's all about the hustle now. It's all about, this is the street. Right now we are standing in Decentraland, and I'm walking you through one of the museums that we built, right? This museum houses Beeple's 20 pieces, and it's a huge museum, a museum of if it's a real world, it'll be 5-6 floors, and it was constructed over seven architects over 45 days, and it took 440 man hours to build this museum, right? So this one is a very special museum in the metaverse today, and like we're going through the museum right now, so you can walk around and you can see these images inside the museum, right? This is a very preliminary idea of what Metakovan had built, and I did this through the power of smart contracts. So all this has happened on Ethereum, and the art is on Ethereum as NFTs. The building, the land parcels, which are also NFTs, are on Ethereum. The design of this building was made into an NFT, and that is also on Ethereum. And we put all this together into a bundle on Ethereum on a smart contract, and then made tokens out of it, and then shared the ownership with everyone who worked on this project. And we also shared it with more people who wanted to have a piece of it, right? So this is a very new way to experience art, and I really like the shared ownership, because art traditionally, if it's owned by one person, who cares about it? Maybe that there will be some pieces of art which become famous because of their stories of, or how they are marketed. But if it's co-owned by a lot of people, then a lot of people have the incentive to make it more famous, right? Like make it more relevant. And that's exactly what happened. Metacoin cannot at the same time be the builder, and cannot at the same time be the person who buys it, etc., right? So this shared work of what you're seeing here is what is amazing about the metaverse, because we as people have come together and built something awesome here, right? And this whole idea of democratizing this art here, where we are not just thinking about art as something that has to be put in a safe place in a free port, but we are opening it up to people, is so that we can have this conversation, right? And this very similar thing is also going to happen with Beeple, the Beeple piece we bought at Christie's. So what's happened here is, as you see, like this I don't know if I want to call this the future, but this has a lot of potential, and this has a lot of potential for people who are really young, because I made my way through crypto by like being an escrow agent, and then building a Bitcoin ATM company, some way, like investing in Ethereum. Maybe you can ask me, well, I cannot invest in Ethereum today, right? Like it's already up and you made all the money, right? But my point is, there are so many job descriptions that are just opening up, where you could be a metaverse architect, you could be a videographer inside the metaverse, you could be a lot of people. You see here, there is someone else, it's another human being on his computer hanging out with us, right? This is crazy, and you can have a conversation with them, and probably I have no idea where they are from, right? And they're looking at us right now, and this is all real time. I'm not like, this is not graphics. So this feeling of what's happening here is something you all should check out. You all should like be part of, and try to figure out how you can contribute to it, and thereby take part in this global economy. So this is a global economy. This is not based in the US, this is not based in any specific part of the world. And you get to provide services that are totally new. So between the NFT creator and the fan, there is this whole middle layer that has just opened up, where you can be a architect to build, or a curator who collects all these art and displays them on in the metaverse, and wants to talk to people, right? Wants to convey to people some narrative that you feel really you feel really excited about. It could be about climate change, it could be about Black Lives Matter, right? So it can be anything you want to talk about. And that's the power of the metaverse, and that's the power of the art movement that's going on. So you could be an artist too, right? So this is the world we are talking about here. And definitely there is this whole I don't want to call it a bubble, because it's always hard to detect when there's a bubble. But all this attention we definitely brought into NFTs was so that everyone in this world will take notice. And that's what has happened. I'm very happy about it. For the B5K, which we bought, I mean the Beeple 5000, we are planning to build something very similar, a monument, and put it in probably Decentraland and a couple of other museums too. It will take us 2-3 months, but that's the path I'm taking, right? That's the path of a producer, of a person. I've taken the job description inside the metaverse as a producer, right? Like as a virtual estate developer, and all these things are possible now. So that's where we stand. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. NFTs, I think it's also 25. So I'll open it up for some questions.
Thank you so much, Metakovan. That was absolutely insightful. And also thank you for taking us through Decentraland. That's really, really cool for our attendees. First of all, I think one question we could explore is, what gives an NFT art piece its value? Because if we look at the purchase of the Beeple art, the Beeple 5000, many people will be wondering what gives it a value of closely 70 million in US dollar, right? What is the fundamental worth in its view? Now, I know that you've explored that, the value could be behind the artist. It could be Beeple. It could be what it represents. But do you think perhaps there could be another angle to where the value of this comes from, and what the value of the Beeple Art 5000 piece is?
So it's a very very complex question to answer, but I don't want to talk about the art piece itself, because when you analyze beauty, it fades, right? So the piece itself is very important and personal to me. That's a very different subject. And it's a 440 million pixel digital art. So you see a collage, but you have to wait until the monument is built to experience the scale of the picture. So that's going to be there in the future. And even if that happens, the question of is it really worth $70 million? The real answer to say to tell us that I have no idea, right? But the more important thing is NFTs are a capsule for stories. It can capture a story in it, the story that came before the NFT, before the art, and into the future. So into the future, meaning after the sale, all that has happened till now, and what's going to happen in 6 months, in a year from now too, right?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
All that is what is going into the NFT. So NFT itself is an encapsulation of the whole story. And the more important thing is that it is a completely digitally native image, which means that when I host it in the digital world, in the metaverse world, for the first time, it's not a fake. It's not just an image, but you would see that it's the actual picture in its real form that is being displayed in the metaverse. So that's very new, and the novelty of it will have value. And my speculation is, over a few years, because of the narrative I've built around it, and I will build around it by all this effort, I will make sure, like, it is in my hands too, right? Like, to make sure it is very valuable, and it is one of the most talked about NFTs in the world today. So it will hold value for a while, and I don't think there'll be like another NFT that just beats the price mark or anything. But this is a very very hard subject to answer in a sentence. It's a complex subject. It itself is a performance art. So NFT, it's not just the artist, it's a collector too.
Thank you for that. And how do you think this art piece fits into the goal of building monuments in the virtual space? And how do you think this would play in with Metakovan's vision, perhaps, of democratizing art for the collective community?
So yeah, like, again, as I said, it's a very digitally native image that we are talking about here, the Beeple 5000. And it's perfectly it's a perfect fit for the metaverse, because this is where we can enjoy such a scale, and we can walk around the image too, right? So we, like, again, this is something I want people to experience. So in a couple of months, we will inform the world of how you could experience that. So I'll leave it to that. When I talk about democratization, there is two forms to it. So one of them is talking about the ownership of the picture itself. But after B20, what I've kind of decided is that I don't want to immediately think about tokenizing it, because the intention of B20, I feel like, was not properly received. Maybe that's because people are short termed, and that's how they look at it and jump to conclusions. But like, you should look at this as a production, not as a performance art in itself, and not as some fractionalization. So I think it's a little early for me to continue to fractionalize. So I'm going to hold back, because I don't want the vibe of Beeple 5000, the NFT, the digital art, to be to go through any issues, right? So I want to protect the vibe, but I'll open it up for anyone to experience it, and let's see how people feel about it first. And I want to continue to build this community online, in the metaverse, where there'll be more artists. I'm enjoying this already. There are, like, I don't know, there's 3 people. I'm probably from the people who are listening in also, right? So I really appreciate this. I have an audience here. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the link is dropped in the chat for
Yeah, yeah,
people to
yeah.
explore the space. Thank you so much for that insight, by the way. Now we have a comment from Charka. Great insights and journey, Metakovan. My question is, apart from art music, which other areas do you feel NFTs will find a use case and early adoption given this excitement in the space currently?
Definitely gaming. In fact, gaming is going to be the top collectible. So think about Fortnite, or think about even the PS4 games that you usually play, where you have to buy something to uh, to make your character better, or like, buy upgrades, etc., right? So all those games are naturally going to go blockchain, or sometime where, say, if you own an item in game, you'd be able to hold it. You'll be able to hold it through the upgrade. So maybe there was FIFA 2007, and then there was FIFA 2008, and if you bought some item in 2007, it would be carried to 2008, and those kind of stuffs will be very interesting. And there'll also be these, like, already there is this game called F1 Delta Time, which I'm a huge fan of. So where you can actually go race with your car, which is an NFT, and the parts, which is an NFT, on a track, which is an NFT. It's a simulation based game right now, but you could see the promise, right? Like, tomorrow when they upgrade it, they need not sell new cars. You can use the old cars that you already have as NFTs. So game collectibles is going to be incredible, and anyone like making a game today, they should think about it. There is also this game called Chain Monsters, which just came out, which is very 2D game, which a old style game, but they've also used blockchain, which is quite interesting.
Thank you so much for that comment, Metakovan. Now, with that being said, I'd like to wrap up today's session and again give my major gratitude and appreciation for Metakovan for coming here today. I know time zones aren't always the best, and while we're hosting conferences, so thank you so much for making the time today. We're very, very excited to hear what is next with Metakovan's vision and what is to come with the art journey. Thank you so much for being here today. And now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague who's going to deliver the next session. Thank you, Metakovan.
Thanks a lot. I enjoyed this session, and like everyone should go have fun, right? And metaverse is here, so let's do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.